Hey, babies. What's going on up in the universe? Um, I'm bodied by D Star, and that is La Femme La Funk, otherwise known as uh, pointing it the wrong way. Ooh, Les Paul.
Sure.
Look at my Les Paul haunted doll. Haunt. So, anyway,
Touch fingers.
my buddy Vito Thomaseli, who is of the famous Thomaseli wrestling family. If you know pro wrestling and you don't know the Thomaselis, then you don't know pro wrestling. Well, should be on. He's like a grown adult businessman that had to go pick up his daughter. So he should, if he gets home in time, he might jump on about 8:30. So
Cool.
be good to talk to Vito. I talk to him every week for an hour or two anyway, but it's it's usually off the air. And Vito used to have a great podcast, and on the One Gimmick World was his own thing, and it was called In the Rotation. And then We Got Heat was his wrestling podcast, and those were, I listened to him every week, and I miss Vito doing podcasts, so it's gonna be good to have him return. A lot of people, including my family and others, which I don't have much family, so my brother have and people have messaged me, and there's been some public messages asking a lot about what's going on with this Netflix deal, because it's hard to explain the whole thing in like a 2-paragraph Facebook post, because it was such fuckery, and fuckery is the word I'm going to use for it. So it's the Netflix fuckery. And Amber, this was a little bit before. Well, I mean, you were funky before you were big and funky, because you disappeared for a while. You and Funk have known each other for a long time, but this was before I met you, and you came into the big and flunky, the big and flunky family. You're a flunkette. But not too long ago. This was we were still shopping around wrestling with ghosts and doing. I'm a cigarette smoker. We were still doing conventions and all the stuff before COVID, and we had some really good steam. And at the convention that just so happened to be here in Gatlinburg, which was nice because it's better than all these. It seems like all the cool conventions are like SilCon in Mattoon, Illinois, and all Toledo, Ohio. We're going to all these so it was nice to have one right here in Gatlinburg. And Vinny brought up the guy's name in a Facebook Live. I'm not going to because I actually like the guy. I don't know what happened. It's the same thing with there's a former wrestling promoter that I really like that just for some reason blocked me and Vinny and everybody on Facebook, and he's got heat with us. But brother, I got heat with you. Same with this guy, so I'm not gonna bring up any names. But if you see any comments, I don't see the comments. If you see comments that are relevant, let me know. So we were at the Gatlinburg Bigfoot, and it was like Bigfoot and paranormal stuff, and we were hanging out with Dookie from the Ghost, one of the paranormal shows, the one that ripped off my ideas, but they didn't know they ripped off my ideas. We cleared that up because he was like, "What? I didn't rip off your idea." I was like, "Man." I showed him the email where I pitched to the Travel Channel three ideas. One was Wrestling with Ghosts. One was a show called Haunted Live, which would be a interactive Facebook Live type show, which they ended up I forget the team name, the Ghost, not the Ghost Chasers.
Is it the Ghost Adventure?
No, it's the guys from Tennessee, the Tennessee Wraith Chasers. But yeah, they ended up doing that show. They ended up doing Haunted Live, and then I also on another one of my pitches was for a thing called I didn't have a name for it, but it was haunted. Basically, they did another show called Haunted Towns with the Wraith Chasers, and in the intro to the show, they 100% said my pitch. Hey, Tracy. They 100% just line for line in the intro to the show. Dookie read my script that from the pitch is like, but essentially we're just a bunch of, or, we're three best friends traveling around America having a good time chasing ghosts. And they said line for line from my pitch. So, but anyway, so me and Dookie got that cleared out because he didn't know, he's like, dude, they handed me a script. What the hell? And, that's, so, he's cool. I like Dookie. Me and Dookie got along. Me and a few people made up over the years. Bye, Tracy. Me and Tyler Mane, who was Sabretooth in the X-Men movie, and it was Michael Myers in the Rob Zombie movies. Me and him had some. It was my heat. It was my jealous heat because he got the job of Wolverine over me, and so it was my heat. But we cleared that up at conventions. So conventions have actually been pretty good karma for me. I got to clear up a lot of air. But anyway, we met this guy that was a cool guy. We really liked it. Tracy's back. Hi, Tracy. And
sorry.
We met this guy that I guess Vinny had met before, but I didn't know him. He's like, hey, you guys are hilarious. I dig what you guys do. You guys, have got the it factor. We need to work on a show. We need to work on a show idea. So we spent a good 2 months. The guy doesn't live very far from here, but he's got this really awesome warehouse that you wouldn't expect. You'd think it's just a barn out in the field. And it's full of badass, like millions of dollars of badass movie memorabilia and things that he's worked on. And it's got I don't want to, but anyway. So we spent, months there conceiving the idea for what we had called, we wanted to call it Freaky Finds, but I think we had something, it was something else that, what we were going to do is go around and try to find creepy movie memorabilia and things like that. And, we'd have clients call us that wanted, hey, I was in this movie and this thing here. Can you track it down? And we do that. It's pretty great premise.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be interesting the things we find. Well, then we pitched it to Netflix. Netflix owed Paul a favor because they screwed him over. They stole one of his other show ideas, which I think it was one of the Ancient Aliens type deal. It was Paul. I'm sorry, I didn't even say his name, but he was on Ancient Aliens and things like that. And so he called in a favor, and they sent the guys that produced, or the guys that created, Storage Wars and Pawn Stars, and sent them down to meet with us. And they flew all the way down from New York and met with us. And they were sitting there brainstorming. They're like, well, we want to be able to get other teams involved with this. And we want to do, and well, maybe what we'll do is we'll get 12 teams together, and you guys can do where you're looking for this stuff. And then the other teams will be looking, and we're like, what? This was our idea, our pitch. I think we could do easily 12 to 20 episodes and make it really interesting. I had got to the point where I had wrote episodes. I scripted out episodes because I want to talk to you about reality TV. It's all scripted. Absolutely. So then all of a sudden the guy, he was just a great guy. I actually thought he was like, what I called him was like, if Funkmaster V grew up with money, he would have been this guy. It was, they were very similar, but he was, like Vinny's got an edge to him, like he's got, he's a nice guy. He'll give you $20 if you need it, but he'll also stab you if you need it. Right. This guy was very Vinny-like, but if he had money. And then he's like, well, what do you think? Apparently he was a big Howard Stern fan. And he thought Howard Stern used to call up, he had his guy Richard Christie call up these Southern swap shop radio programs, which are just stupid. They're all, if you ever happen to listen to these things, which I don't even know if they air anymore, but they're always on like some little, 1,000-watt radio station where somebody calls in and says, well, I got me a dozen fresh eggs. Anybody want these dozen fresh eggs? I'll sell them to you for a nickel.
I got a few cats that way growing up. Mr. Rich Swap Shop.
Yeah, but I mean, it's nothing that you're going to find like, huge major things on. Even if you script it, it still makes it unbelievable, which go ahead and say, the show is scripted. Nothing is real. Okay. And maybe I don't remember the contract I signed, but I'm going to say it out loud. If they sue me, they can have my back scratcher. It's all fake. Storage Wars, it's all planned. Pawn Stars, it's all planned.
Yeah.
And I know that for a fact because I talked to the guy who created those shows. But then, so he's like, well, what if you guys sat around, listened to Swap Shop Radio, and people would call in and we'd put out some things that you might want, and then another team might want, and then you guys have to. We're like, that sounds like the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. But at the time, we're like, you know what, Netflix, open the door, get us a little notoriety. We'll do it. So we signed the contracts. Couple days later, we get word from from I'm going to just say Netflix. It was a production company that was through Netflix. It was like, well, what we're going to do is we got 8 teams now, and one of the guys is really into old Levi's.
And what kind of person is really into old Levi's?
And then another guy collects vintage baseball hats. And we're like, who the fuck wants to? And that's probably a reason me and Vinny got phased out of this. Me and Vinny and Travis got phased out of this is because we were straight up. We were like, who the fuck wants to sit around and watch a show about somebody going, God damn it, there's some jeans and Dandridge we gotta go look at. Yeehaw, get the truck, some bitch.
It's like redneck vintage roadshow.
Well, and that's what I think they were trying to do. And me and Vinny and Travis definitely are not rednecks. But I saw the trailer for the show that is coming out. They made it, and it does look like another make fun of rednecks show. Like somebody's going to be there. Well, damn it, Earl, this is dumber than a bag of sheep shit.
The history of the term redneck is actually quite interesting and not.
I don't want to hear it, Tracy. I'm in the middle of a story.
Hey,
okay.
Dickhead right now.
It's not a bad thing.
The history of the redneck is people working out of the field, so they got a tan on the back of their sunburn on the back of their neck. But anyway,
actually not. I could tell you if you were interested, but anyway.
Oh, you ruined the whole show, Trey. You just buzzkilled everything.
I know, I'm terrible. I'm so sorry. I'm a dickhead. See?
I was on a roll, and then you're like, the term of the redneck is very. If you had a house that you could throw a party at. I love you, Tracy.
You had $1 million. What would you buy?
Side note: Tracy came out to a show the other day, or one of my shows Sunday, and I really appreciate you coming out there and got to hang out with Mikey, and it was a good time.
And I carried the heaviest bag of your gear.
Oh yeah, the heaviest thing. But it was. I do appreciate you coming out. It's always good when I get to see friends and joke around and yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah. I really enjoyed seeing you. But anyway, back to Netflix. So we were not quiet about going. This is Levi jeans and baseball hats and what the fuck. And then Vinny's like, dude, I don't want to do this. And I was like, I don't want to do this either. Because the scripts I had were fucking hilarious. The things we had, we were going to go. A friend of mine was Thackeray Binks, the voice of Thackeray Binks in Hocus Pocus. And we were going to have him call up and say he wanted that animatronic because the guy that we were working with happened to know where that animatronic was. And then we'd go out and get it. The guy wouldn't sell it. And so we build him one because this guy is also a model maker. So we build him one and be like, hey, man, we couldn't get it, but we built you this. Here you go. That would have been awesome. And we'd had a lot of fun with it, but So anyway, about 3 days later, COVID hits and lockdowns and all that, and we didn't know, we didn't hear anything. Then there was the last we heard was everything's on hold because of COVID. So we were like, all right, well, fuck it, then we're gonna make movies. We had ideas for movies, we held off, and we were like, we're just going to go ahead and start making the hike and see where we're at by the time COVID ends. Well, somewhere in there, Vinny said something on Facebook about Donald Trump and the when he cleared out the people to walk across the street to the church. Now, this dude this guy flipped out on Vinny and then blocked all of us. And we're like, okay, all right. And that was it. That was the end of it. And we figured, and so Vinny messaged the production company and said, hey, we're still interested. I don't know what's going on. He never heard back. So we figured dead in the water. And then, so what I'm telling you is we were in on the conception of this show. Even though they changed it around in a meeting with us to something that we didn't want to do, we were still going to do our part. But, we were in on the conception of that show. And we thought it was dead in the water. They didn't talk to us. They didn't anything. And then yesterday, Travis sends us a message that says, the show premieres next week on Netflix. I'm like, you mother.
Oh my gosh.
But this is, like I said with Dookie there at the thing is, this is the third time that we've, the first two shows that I had that were completely stolen from me were just stolen. I mean, it was just my ideas blatantly. I mean, they copied my script. This one, I think, is a little flimsier, but, we were in the production of it. And then, again, they made it without us. So, but I think I could probably see reasons, but this is the shitty part, especially about reality TV and paranormal TV and everything. And that's why we created Aside Paranormal and try to get away from doing things for a production company and for studios, is because their communication is terrible. We've signed at least, I think Vinny signed about 6 and I've signed 4. I think Travis signed 4 deals for our shows, for Wrestling with Ghosts, for all this stuff. And it's one or 2 weeks of get this together, do it, get it together, do this, get this, I need this, record this. Hey, I need you saying this, that, and that for 2 straight weeks. It's constant communication. And then you don't hear from him again, ever. And then your show ends up being done by somebody else.
And aren't you guys aren't we put on a creative hold too? You can't some of the contracts?
Yeah, well, they throw on those contracts something that's called a talent holding clause, where you're not allowed to work with another company or do any other show in that field. Because after the first one, we made sure that all the later ones were in this field, because we're if we can't do a paranormal show, we'll do Renaissance Men, or we'll do our movies, we'll do other things in the meantime, because our first talent holding deal stalled us out for 9 months, and and by the time that the 9 months was over, we found out from this agent I know that in Los Angeles, dude, the person you were talking to hasn't worked there in 5 months, and the company is now gone. That company doesn't exist anymore. I was like, thanks for telling us. Yeah, so
that voids the contract, doesn't it?
If we'd have known.
Well, okay.
Yeah, if we'd have known, it voids the contract. And then, then we started asking. This is why we haven't signed any deals in about 3 years, because as soon as somebody comes at us with, we got this contract and this talent holding clause, blah, 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 we go, all right, pay us. We want minimum, what do they call it? Set minimum. The word is escaping me, but basically what you would get paid 5 days a week to be on a set, the minimum money, which is I think $98 a day. No, it's $198 a day. We're like, pay us while we're under contract. Pay us. Oh, we don't do that. I was like, well, we don't do that.
We don't sign contracts.
We don't do that. First of all, I'm wearing my Packers shirt, so I want to mention. There's people flipping out. This is stuff that you guys could probably have an opinion on. Is my quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. I'm not wearing Aaron Rodgers. I'm wearing Devontae Adams. But my quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, tested positive for COVID. And people are like, oh, my God, he lied about being vaccinated so he could play football. He lied about being vaccinated.
Oh, my gosh.
So fucking what?
Right.
Well, you can still get COVID even if you are vaccinated.
Yeah. Well, my thing is can we just live our fucking lives?
Right.
You know, can we just not, you know, he had, you know, I see all these poor basketball players losing their jobs, and now all these police officers and EMTs and people that were forced to work through the pandemic are now having to quit because they don't want to, you know, and most of them, I think there's a weird thing, and I watch CNN and Fox. You know, I balance it out. I don't watch just one. But CNN is getting hard. It's getting hard to watch. But like CNN keeps saying anti-vaxxers. I was like, none of these people are anti-vax. They're anti-mandate.
Yes.
And like all these basketball players that are sitting out, and all these cops and all the firemen and EMTs, they're not anti-vaccination. They're anti-mandate. You know, there was a bunch of them that are actually vaccinated that are still quitting because of the mandate.
Well, I mean,
that's balls.
Its own type of government overreach. I mean, the government should not tell you what you should and should not do with your body. Yeah.
Well, I loved it. CNN was hilarious. Yeah. Wednesday morning when that Youngkin won, the Republican won Virginia.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there watching it, and they must have said white supremacy or white supremacist or racism every third word. They like couldn't stop. And I'm like, these idiots, these assholes don't realize that that's why they lost.
Yeah.
Because, well, all these guys, this proves that racism exists. It's like, no, this proves that people are sick of being called fucking racists.
Yes.
Even Democrats are sick because, like, Vinny will tell you, Vinny's very hard on Republicans and Christians because Vinny was a Republican and is a Christian. I'm very hard on liberals and Christians because I'm a Christian and a former liberal. You know, I was Obama, you know, that was my guy. And then I started realizing what was really going on and got away from that. That's why me and Vinny, you know, we get in trouble he gets in trouble a lot with the Trumpers. I get a lot of trouble with the Obama people. I can't even call them the Biden people because nobody fucking likes Biden.
Right.
There are some people who do like a lot.
We now have our next guest about to join in with us.
Is Vito coming on?
He is.
Oh, this is my guy. But somebody is feeding back.
Probably.
Vito Thomaseli.
Hello.
You're annoying. Above you is Amber. To your left there is Tracy. Yeah, I want to, but this guy is the guy. This Vito is. You were like you and Joe Rogan were the only podcasts I listened to.
Wow, that's some good company, I guess.
Yeah. Now, I can tell that you when you did podcasts, you were fairly influenced by Joe Rogan, whether you knew it or not. Like a lot of your,
it was Howard Stern. I was a big Howard Stern influence. Yeah.
Well, I was. Yeah. What's weird is now you didn't listen to Stern before Sirius XM, right?
I listened. I started listening in '98.
98. All right, yeah, because I did not like Howard Stern until he came on Sirius.
Interesting.
And then
I listened the whole time.
And then I was lucky and fortunate enough to be able to listen to his first 5 years on Sirius, which I will contend is the best radio that's ever happened.
Period. And him with Bubba in the afternoon, and then I liked when Scott Ledger came on later. Like that whole block was just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably the best radio that it's ever happened. You know, Artie Lang just dying of heroin overdoses on radio. It was fucking fantastic. But just a little back history with Vito and me. We go back to probably 1999,
98ish, somewhere.
90. Yeah, I was probably shouldn't have been, but I was the rookie trainer, like the basics trainer at Sonny Rogers Pro Wrestling International. I think it was at the time. No, it was. Yeah. And I was at his training school, and I was the when you were new, you came to me and I taught you how to run the ropes and basic bumps and stuff. And Vito was one of two guys in the history in its elite company, if you know it. But considering the other guy is a fucking dick, but he was successful. But Vito and CM Punk were the only two guys that came into that school. And on the first day in my class, I went to Sonny and goes, I can't teach him nothing. I think I went to you and told you to go. I think I sent you up the line. You stayed around, didn't really do much training because there's nothing I teach you.
Yeah, I was only there a little while and then I moved on. I was a fast learner, but I was a huge fan forever. So it was a pretty easy transition.
But I mean, it was like, it wasn't like, all right, I'm going to show Vito this move, or I'm going to show you this move, and then we'll work on it. It was just like, all right, I'm going to teach you clothesline, and then you do the clothesline. I mean, you were already better than most of the people in the advanced classes in your first day. CM Punk came over from LWF. He already knew how to wrestle, and he came in there to try out the gym one day, and I said, go to Steel Domain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a good route. It's a good route. Well, hello, everybody. What are we talking about tonight? Wrestling? I don't want to talk wrestling.
Well, no, the only reason I want to talk wrestling is because your girl Nia Jax just got released by the WWF or WWE.
Amazing.
And it's such a sad day for, like my television lifted up 2 inches. Just the weight was released from.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll end up somewhere. She'll be fine. She'll figure it out.
Yeah, but now this girl is. I don't want to make any. Nia Jax is kind of an ongoing rib with all the way back from Vito's podcast days, where she is just. It's not about her being overweight and unattractive. Who cares if she's overweight and unattractive? The chick sucked.
She's just a miserable person, and when you watch her, like in her own environment, you don't like her. Like you just don't like her. If you watch from a distance, you don't like her. She's a miserable person. Yeah, she's gone.
Yeah, which is just fun. But no, we were actually talking about mandates and vaccines and shit, which I know you really don't like to talk about. And that's
I don't mind talking about it. I mean, it's not the end of the world to talk about it, but I think it's an interesting time to be alive.
It is. I think it's real weird. Amber, you look like you want to say something.
So, what do you guys think about the whole group of people that went to see JFK Jr. come back?
This is the thing. That's like the same. It's about the same amount of people that like were eating Tide Pods.
Yeah.
Like 1 or 2 people do it, and then they report on it like it's this big thing. It's like.
Yeah.
Those people only matter because we give them press. If we ignored them, like remember when we stopped talking about Paris Hilton? Like remember when the news is like, we're not talking about you anymore. In like 2007 or so, you haven't heard another fucking word about her. She's still alive. She's still doing so. You don't hear her name anymore. Yeah. We should do that to stuff like that. We should just start not talking about it and it would go away.
Yeah, and it's when you realize that cancel culture, which is an issue, but it's really maybe 1,000 people on Twitter.
That's it. It really is. Yeah. So someone broke that down recently, and I don't remember the exact number, but there's like it's like 80% of the traffic on Twitter happens from like 100 accounts or so. I made those numbers up, but there's something like that. Then it all gets played off of those retweets and all that bullshit.
And then assholes reshare it. And then my favorite thing is that I love watching when something happens is pre-offense, where somebody is, if like let's say. Somebody that's trans wins an award, and people are like, to all the people that are pissed off about this, and it's like,
no one's pissed off. You're in a gown. Knock it off.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's hey man, I'm thinking of doing it. I'm thinking I've got some dresses that fit me.
I mean, dude, if you wanted to step into some weightlifting competitions, you could get some world records real quick.
Yeah, and I'm thinking I'd get over with my music a lot more. If somebody booed me or didn't like what I was playing, you're transphobic.
Yeah, they'll lose their job for booing you because they don't like the way you play Freebird.
Yep, and then I'll sue them.
Yeah.
I already wear yellow Crocs, so
that whole cancel culture is turning. When Bill Maher is noticing that the lefts are a little too left, that's when you know stuff's starting to change.
When people ask me what kind of liberal I am, it's Bill Maher, because that would be the best way to describe it.
I used to listen to him every Friday. It was like appointment television, you know. And then he got like, when anybody dumps on one side but not the other, it's weird to me. And he got really super like my team against yours, and now he's on the other end of it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It didn't take him long at all. It
No.
didn't take him long at all to be like, what in the fuck is this?
I also listen to Russell Brand does a show for about 15 minutes a day.
Dude, it's the best. He's my daily stop every morning from what he did the day before.
Yeah, and I didn't like Russell Brand. He was funny in that movie that Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I thought he was funny in that, but I didn't know anything about him. I saw like a stand-up special of his, and I was like, this guy's not funny, or I didn't understand a word he was saying. But now every day I watch his podcast. He does, awesome. He keeps it to like 13, 14 minutes, and it's funny to watch a guy who is not who takes it out on both sides.
Yeah, the guy is there is no. It's not lean. He's not leaning anywhere. He doesn't lean at all. He's just saying this is what the story is. It's awesome. But
I think he said just the other day, he was like, people keep getting on me, call me a Trump supporter and call me a conservative. He's like, because I keep getting on the liberals, but you guys are the ones doing all the stupid shit right now. So then once the Republicans run in.
Progressives do that. Progressives do that. They put you in a box first, right? Like you could say something like, put that down, you sissy. And they're going to go, sissy? Oh, you're one of those people. And you're like, one of what people? And they're like, you're going to deny it? And you're like, deny what? They're like, oh, okay, it's okay. And you're like, what? But they're like, you said sissy. That's offensive to sissies. And you're like, okay. And they're like, you're homophobic too. And you're like, what? Like it just keep, they just like roll this ball down the hill until you say something dumb. And they're like, see? And you're like, get the fuck out of here. All of you. Go become undeniable.
It's like 70% of the kids I went to high school with.
Oh, easily. Yeah, it's 90% of the people on Facebook. That's why I don't spend a lot of time on it.
No, to me, it's I like what Chappelle said, where he was like, and that's on Twitter, and Twitter ain't the real world.
That's what, because you know what, man, I'll tell you what. If you turn it off tomorrow, Facebook disappeared tomorrow. You still got to live your life. Like you still got, got to go to Walmart and get some food or clothes and pick the kids up from school. Go to work, go to sleep. Fuck.
Well, I don't even have. I mean, I have a Twitter account that I started like 8 years ago, and so every time I say I don't have Twitter, people go on Twitter and find me and be like, "You have Twitter?" I was like, "Yeah." When's the last time I tweeted? Because I'm not getting involved in fucking that world. That Twitter's for assholes.
I mean, I think any social media where you're going to spend your whole day on it is you're an asshole in some capacity because it's like, what are you really contributing to? And you're like, well, I'm contributing to Facebook. Well, good. You're a user. You're not contributing shit. You're being used. You're being used for your time and your efforts. So
I think you used Facebook very wisely back when you did your podcast and stuff like that, is because you used it to not just promote your podcast, you did it to kind of sell what you were going to be talking about. And then you also used it to troll the fuck out of people to get them mad so they would come on your podcast pissed off, and then you could fuck with them more, which was my favorite thing in the world.
Best thing in the world. I called it fishing. I would just fish all day long, and somebody would start in with me, and I'd go back and forth 1,000 comments later, and 2 days later they'd be on my podcast, and we'd be calling them an idiot. Let me take this dog outside real quick. I'm gonna mute myself.
Do it to it.
All right. How do I mute?
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Vito. Yeah, me and Vinny went up and spent. Oh, he's the best. That guy can talk for hours, and it's interesting every minute. Me and Vinny went up and hung out with him for WrestleMania weekend. And I don't remember if we watched WrestleMania or not because edibles are legal in Illinois.
And you had to study for your character.
Well, yeah, that's what it turned into, and I think it helped me more than anything with my character from WJCM, which is a stone hippie kind of guy named Arlo. And I remembered so much because, like, I hadn't been high, especially that high, in a long time, like that perfect high where I'm sitting there, and I remember I was talking to Mike Brooks, who is CM Punk's brother. And I was talking to Mike Brooks, and Vinny was sitting right next to me. And this is at Weekend at Vito's. And Vinny's sitting right next to me, and I'm talking to Mike, and then all of a sudden another conversation in my head is going on, going, am I talking? Hey, Vinny, am I talking? Wait a minute. Did I say that out loud or not? And so Vito, I have to thank you for Weekend at Vito's because it was the perfect character study for my character for the movie we just filmed.
Very good. Well, next year we're doing it in Gatlinburg, so it should be interesting.
It should be. That's going to be fucked up, and we're going to have a too good of a time. I'm going to call in all my favors with the local cops to make sure we stay out of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to wrap it around when you're down here that weekend. We might film your scene for Camp Smokey.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I'm pumped.
because I don't know, ladies, if you would be into this, but if this guy would take his shirt off for 30 seconds, he's covered in bumps and veins.
Stop it.
And
I am not. Just tattoos.
Yeah. Look at Tracy's got a boner right now.
No, I'm sorry.
I got
I'm not into like
from the
no. Not anymore.
What'd you say?
I'm done.
You have a really sad dick on your hat right now.
I do.
your crocheted dick got sad.
He's happy actually because he's detachable. Like
aren't they
now, Vito, I haven't had a chance to talk to you since what happened Tuesday.
What happened Tuesday?
What happened Tuesday?
In our conversation on Tuesday night.
Our sunny days?
Yes. And I want to say, I don't think that could have gone any better. I'll just say that.
Are we going to tell them about it, or are we going to talk in code?
I think we could tell. We have this private group chat where a bunch of dudes get together on Zoom, and really cool guys. My man crush Sal Thomaseli's on there, and a bunch of other, Vito's brother. It doesn't matter who's on there, but
We don't usually talk about Fight Club.
Yeah, you're breaking the rules.
Well, Vito had this guy that he'd been fishing apparently, and
hold on. What I did is I put an ad on Craigslist because with my downtime I want to make some extra money. So I thought, hey, I could do some phone sales. So if you have a phone program and you're looking for a guy to make some calls, I'll do it for you. So I put an ad on Craigslist. I got bombarded by people, and most of them wasted my time. But this one guy named Sonny started. He called me and was like, he would just keep talking and he would never get to a point. And I love that kind of stuff.
And if you know who Harry Carey was, the old Cubs broadcaster, he's like
he's more like Don Rickles.
Yeah.
Like if Don Rickles smoked a bunch of non-filtered cigarettes and wasn't funny. So he just kept going on and on and on about this opportunity, and you're the guy. And no matter, I'm really good with sales and I'm good with manipulating conversations and taking them where I want them to go. And no matter where I took him, he just circled back around and left me with nothing, and I loved it. So I just kept talking to him, and I would record it every time he popped in. I'd record it, and then eventually I'm like, you got to come out and meet my friends. And he said he had this big plan, and he needs us to come in and sell, and we're gonna make $10,000 a day. All this kind of shit, right? So I of course get him on with my buddies, and we just start fucking with this guy. So we get him on, and he's got to pitch us this certain way, but he mutes all the lines. So then I'm calling him on his personal cell phone, and he keeps stopping the broadcast and pitching the phone. He doesn't realize that we can all hear him, and he's like, "Would you fucking stop? Would you fucking stop? I'm trying to help you guys out." And then he'd hang up with me, and he'd be like, "All right, guys, I'm back. Your ruler Vito is interrupting me." And then like 5 minutes later, I'd call him again, and he'd go, "What?" And he would get all flustered, and we're just laughing at him. Yeah, that's funny.
But for the entire hour, we listened to him pitch an idea for us, and after an hour, he never fucking told us what he was pitching us.
Never. He never got down to the idea of it.
That's fantastic.
He just kept telling us that we're gonna be millionaires. And the best part was when I said, this has to be a scam. He's like, "Have I asked you to buy anything?" And I go, "That's the greatest answer I've ever heard in my entire life to that question." Like, no, you haven't. So I'll sit here a little while longer. Yeah.
Well, and Vito gave him all sorts. Like, my name was Nicotine. And
here, hold on. I'll read the names. This is the list of names we gave him because he needed their names ahead of time. Andy Cornholder, Oliver Closeoff, Nicotine, Drew Pinos, Lee Nover, and Peter Pants.
Peter Pants.
That's hilarious.
And then when Vito was trying to get him to say everybody's name, the full name, and he's like, "I don't have last names. I don't have last."
So then what's funny is the next day, one of the guys on the call, one of my buddies, Googled this guy just to see if anything would come up. And there's a whole thread of people saying the same story, that he's just some lonely old man in Ohio, and this is what he does.
Well,
Speaking of lonely old men, I drove one to the doctor today, and he proposed marriage to me at least 30 times.
Luke,
well,
what was that car ride like for you, Luke?
Is he rich?
hey,
No,
I tried.
he's not rich.
Well, then fuck that.
I
fucking
checked.
throw him
Yeah,
out.
it was
Was
sad.
his name Sonny? Sonny
No.
Money.
Sonny
No.
That was the
Money
guy.
from
That was the
Ohio,
guy.
but
Really? That guy's name Sonny
The guy's
Money?
name was Sonny Money. And it was
if you want,
great.
Google it.
Wow.
Somebody just Google Sonny Money, and the only thing that comes up is the very first link. Click it, and you'll enjoy reading what everyone says about Sonny.
But he spent like 15 minutes building up the Sonny Honey, which was a girl he was training that apparently was at his house and sounded suspiciously Asian.
Yeah, he goes, I want to introduce you to my first lieutenant. No, first he said, this is only for men. Everything about this is men. It's just going to be men. He goes, now let me introduce you to my lieutenant. Her name's Rachel. And we're like, Rachel? And then all we heard was like, hello. And then he kept talking, and he never went back to her again. 35 minutes later, he never went back to her ever again.
Built her up for 10 minutes, and then she goes, hi, and he's like, well, now shut up, and and I was on the floor. That was the Sonny Honey. And I was.
If you guys want, I can call him right now. You want to see if he'll answer?
No, because then we have to listen to that song. Because we have to listen to that song.
That's his call-in line. This is his personal cell phone.
But I was worried that girl was a sex slave. Like she was sold.
I don't think she was real. I think it was an audio. I think it was like a button. Like,
right.
Hey, Cammy, are you there? I sure am. Like whatever she said. Like, yeah. Sonny. I typed in Sonny in my phone. I have two Sonnies in my phone. I have who I call Uncle Sonny and then Sonny Ono.
Sonny Ono.
No big deal. Anybody want to call Sonny Ono?
No.
Sonny Ono is a very
ahead.
favorite. Isn't Sonny Ono dead?
No, he's very much alive. I bought some merchandise from him like a year and a half ago. I thought I had his number.
You don't have Sonny Rogers' number? Man.
I haven't communicated with Sonny Rogers since 1999.
Probably.
No,
but
legit.
Well, no, but I would say that I needed that break from reality, man. That whole thing was just fucking fantastic. And just the way you troll people and aren't afraid to just keep pouring it on. Because like when Vito would call Sonny on the side, he wouldn't be like, hey man, he'd be like, hey fuckhead, why don't you get to the fucking point? Why don't you get to the point?
Wasting my time. You're wasting mine and my friend's time. He didn't give a shit. He's alone. He was getting something out of it too. He's a lonely old man, and we got to give him a little bit of entertainment.
Hey, he's probably playing with Tracy's hat.
Cares. He should be.
But no, and what I really wanted to talk to you about is you've got a cartoon.
Yeah.
Coming out.
Very
and
good.
That's exciting.
I am so interested in all of the, not just the premise and not just what it is. I thought that the Stars show Heels was going to take a little heat away from what you were doing, because you came up with that premise and then Heels kind of jumped out real quick, and it's kind of close to the same premise.
It's actually, if you know the full premise of mine, it's nothing like it at all. This is like the Flintstones, and Heels is like the Sopranos. Like visually, they're nothing even remotely close to each other.
But what it is all these characters that are kind of anagrams isn't the right word, but kind of composites of all these strokes you meet in wrestling, of all these different assholes and promoters and wrestlers and marks and all this stuff. It's all, I just can't wait to see it. And so the drawings of everybody are dead on, but you got some top talent to voice these things.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, we Vince Russo's a part of it. Rob Van Dam's a part of it. D'Lo Brown's a part of it. Velvet Sky, Missy Hyatt, which was super cool to work with Missy Hyatt. Tugboat from Natural Disasters is a part of it. Shane Douglas, the Cat Stacey Carter from the Attitude Era.
You almost had Bret Hart, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say we almost had him. What we had was a good lead of a guy that we thought could get him, and he was like real confident that he can get him, and that never went anywhere. So yeah, we had talked to Hacksaw Jim Duggan, we talked to Mark Henry. There was a bunch of people initially that I reached out to and dealt with. I'll tell you what though, out of everybody, Mike Bucci performed the best. Simon Dean, fucking home run. He looked at the script and he was just like, "Hey, do you mind if I say it however how I would say it?" I'm like, "Sure." So he just added carne talk into what he would do. That wasn't in the script to do it, but so he took the script and made it carny and just would talk in carny like basically the whole time, and I loved it. So yeah, you know what? I'll tell you this much: it was done about 2 months ago, and then there's edits, right? Like you want to go in and say, okay, I don't like this, let's do this. I don't like this, let's do this. All those edits take 3.5, 4 weeks, all of them. To do anything, it just takes that much time.
Now, I don't know if you want to say this number out loud, but how much does it cost for a minute of animation?
$1,000 a minute. Now hold on. That's like on the cheap. Like that's somebody on the side that's doing it that can do it.
Yeah,
it's $1,000 a minute. But that's not the voices. That's not the music beds. That's not the sound effects. That's not the marketing. That's not the character development. That's not the drawing of the characters. It's not the rendering of the characters. None of that. It's just $1,000 to animate.
A minute. And that's why
you have to storyboard it out too. So when you have to basically do the cartoon, you have to animate it as best as you possibly can through like stick figures and shit, and then they have to go in and do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a good partner out of British Columbia. He's really great.
Yeah, the idea behind the whole thing, and I think you said you got a trailer coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, so the only hiccup in that is I'm talking with a few different people, and they keep pushing out meetings or adding. Like, there's one guy I'm working with that keeps pushing a meeting, and there's one guy that keeps adding new people or wants a follow-up meeting. So I could have put it out here already because I have a version that I like, but it's not the one that I want everybody to see. And if this thing does what I want it to do in the next couple weeks here, then I'm not going to have a reason to release it. You guys may never see it.
Right.
It might just be the thing that gets teased to get the thing actually going.
Yeah. Well, a lot like in my brain, it seems like a weird wrestling South Park kind of thing.
It is. There's no wrestling in it. It's just the story behind it is that they're wrestlers, but there's no wrestling in it.
Yeah, I think you said at one time, like, if there is wrestling, it's going to be off camera, and I think that's the best way to go.
Yeah, and it would be more like, hey, remember in '96 when you broke your finger in the ring, and it'll just like, woo, it'll go backwards, and it'll be like, snap, and like then that'll be it. It'll go back to real time. Like you're not going to see like tying up or clotheslines or none of that shit.
Yeah, one of my favorite directors, and if you watch our movies, you'll see a lot of his influences. Kevin Smith, who did Clerks and Mallrats, and when he came to Dogma, he said straight up, he goes, there's a lot of death in Dogma, and there's a lot of violence in Dogma, but you will see none of it on camera. And that's I think that same thing with the carnies, where all the it's about wrestling, but you're not going to see any wrestling. Right. I love that.
Right.
It's
great. About like flowering shows, what it's like to go backstage, just the ins and outs of being around a school or a dojo. Like there's so much funny stuff, and like the characters all interacting with each other is funny. Here's the problem: I recorded all the audio ahead of time and then spliced everybody together. Now it's been animated, and I watched it, and I just don't like it. Like the conversations, it's different now that you see it. But with animation, you can't do much unless you got to pay the people to come back in and redo the audio, right? Yeah. So it's been a huge learning phase, but nothing was more upsetting than when I watched it's about 5.5 minutes. When I watched it, I was like, okay, here we go.
Well, there's certain things that I've learned in the business, in the entertainment business, that I'll pass on to you. Is and especially like these two will can verify this, is, and you have an advanced sense of humor. Me and Vinny and all of us have an advanced sense of humor, and what that does is we don't understand anymore that stupid sense of humor. Like people laugh at Larry the Cable Guy.
Right. Okay, I'll say this though. Normally, by the time anything comes out that I've ever produced, I've always been the one to edit it, do the whole thing. So I've listened to it like 100 times before I ever hear the finished product. With this one, the 5 minutes, I watched the first like minute and a half when that first came out and gave him some feedback, and then I never watched another thing until he gave me the final 5 minutes, and I got to watch it that way. Like let's go, And it was probably 7 months in between when I gave it to him and when it actually finalized. And I got to watch it that way, and I hated it. So. Yeah,
because I do have a feeling that with the next movie we've got coming out, WJHCAM, is there's going to be some of that where I think this is fucking hilarious, and people are just not gonna think it's funny because it's either I like what I call intelligent dick jokes. And people usually like either or, they don't like both.
Right.
And Vinny likes intelligent dick jokes. And a lot of our movies are like you watch The Hike, we watched it at Weekend at Vito's, and it's like 10 minutes in the movie, we're flashing back to a wrestler named Bestiality, and people are just like, they don't get it. They hated that part, but it's that then things that I didn't think were funny, people are like, that's the best thing I've ever seen. That's what's going to probably happen with the carnies a lot, is because you're so intimately knowledgeable of the backstage of wrestling that you're going to be like, I didn't think that was that good, but other people are going to be like, because how marks are, man, especially them smarks.
What's neat is when you're listening and the voices are legendary wrestlers. Like that part's neat. It's just the content in general seems kind of stale. And like I say, maybe I heard it a million times over, but I had one of my friends watch it, and like she giggled during some of it, but the parts were like when we wrote it, like it meant to be funny. It's not. It's just, I mean, like it's funny if you tell a joke like today and you're hoping in April that it's funny and it's not, but nothing you can do about it. Like it's just kind of, like I said, I think when we get all the whoop de whoops in and the sound effects and the background music behind it, and it'll give some of that like depth. Like right now, it's a black and white painting, So I'm like, and I'm saying it's the worst one yet. But once they put color, and maybe I'll be like, oh wow, okay, now I see her features and I like her dress that color or whatever, right? So we'll see. I'm excited about it, but it should be done like the final everything. And to know if I can release it to the public before I do any of this, I would say probably by December 1st at the absolute latest.
Yeah, well, Vinny was, edits everything for us, and he said when he was editing The Hike, he was just like, I'm tired of this movie. I don't like this movie. And then when we premiered it a year ago at a movie theater, he fell in love with it.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't do any of the editing. I watched it that way, the way he watched it, where I was hoping to be. I think I'm dragging on too much. What I'm saying is I just need to get more background music and the finalization and the key stuff to go in. I hope it changes it drastically. That'd be great. Now,
the best thing to do is try to get some of your friends that aren't signed musicians to do the background music. That's what we did through The Hike, and people love the soundtrack of it. And it's all independent music, that unsigned talent, and that way. Idea. Yeah, that way we pick the best songs from these guys, and
they'll do that shit for free anyway. They just want to get in anything, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and also we like to use our friends for shit. Of course. That's like you are as soon as when Vinny said we need somebody to narrate Wrestling with Ghosts, I said fucking Vito.
Do it.
And so just so Vito, we're doing some on the 13th, we're filming 2 episodes of Wrestling with Ghosts, so you're gonna have some voiceover work coming over.
I can't wait. I want to come down and do one with you guys.
Oh no, we'll come up there.
Whatever. Tomato.
Yeah, we'll come up there because we need to hit Chicago. We've been around it, but we haven't been in it. Or in that area.
Well, you should come now. You should come now and get shot. It's like the most dangerous place in the world.
Yeah. Oh no, we wouldn't go in Chicago. You're like you're. When I say you're in Chicago, you're not. You're damn close.
I'm like 35, 45 minutes west of the city.
Yeah, which
expressway the whole way. So you're pretty far out.
It's so weird. When I went to your house, that your house is in the middle of this huge subdivision of out in Plainfield. This huge subdivision that 20 years ago, when I moved away from there, was a cornfield.
Yeah, just a big cornfield, a big open cornfield. I first came out here like around that same time too. Like my aunt lived out here, and it was there was railroad tracks and some houses.
No, there was a dude that lived out there that used to throw it was probably right about where your house is. He used to throw his big ass party bonfire. He would set up generators. We'd play. My band would play, and that's like right by. And now, when I drove out through Bolingbrook and when you said you lived in Plainfield, I was like, this is fucking Romeoville.
Mm-hmm.
Same, but it's
one street over from me is Romeoville. I'm literally separated by one street.
Now, when me and Vinny went down there for WrestleFest 7, did you live in that house?
What year was that?
I don't know, maybe 4 years ago.
I moved here in 2014, so most likely.
Yeah, because I remember you were there, and your brother was wrestling on the show, and me and Vinny were there, and I was like, "Oh, it's so cool of you to come out." And then when I saw how close you actually lived to that place, I'm like, "Dude, he
Yeah, it's
walked out
about
his
5 minutes.
he walked out your front door."
Yeah.
And
That was the last indie show I was at, I believe, until the one I went to last weekend with Rob Anthony's.
oh, you wrestled for JCW, didn't you?
I don't really count that. It happened in the woods at a music concert.
If people don't know, Vito and his brother and Sal used to be, the Iron Saints and the Haters, and you were the longest running Juggalo Championship Wrestling Tag Team Champions of all time, right?
We were until the Ring Riders took it from us. Yeah, and now they doubled our numbers or so. We were for a long time. Yeah, it was pretty neat.
But what was weird is you have a way of dumping out of things at the exact right time.
I do.
Like you went for your WWF or WWE tryout, and then you did that, and then you were like, "Fuck wrestling,
I'm out."
And then you're like, with the Juggalos, you were like, "Yeah, we're done here."
I'm done.
Right as they were, I mean, that thing ended right about the time you guys left. I mean, it's still going, but it ain't really.
It's
going
not the
like
same. We got to see the really fun stuff. Like we saw the Charlie Sheen stuff. We saw the Tila Tequila getting the pumpkin full of shit thrown on her. Like we were part of all the we were a part of all the fun stuff. So yeah, I don't miss. It was awesome.
Yeah, and you got to rap.
I got to rap with Violent J.
Yeah, that's. I love how that. I love that story. How that came together, where you guys had, doing a rap song about somebody calling caller number 5
7.
or what? Caller number 7,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, I can't rap, and he's like, just talk. We'll make it.
We'll figure it out.
That's when you real.
He's cool, man. That whole environment's pretty neat though, because you're around somebody that really at any minute could snap his finger and almost make anything happen that he imagines, right?
Yeah.
And so if you get around him and you get him inspired, he'll start putting time in, and he makes you feel like you're the only one there. It's really special, like trait that he has. It's a great thing. I learned a lot of great stuff from that guy. Yeah,
but you were also in there right when like Corp and Sabu were just at their like fucking insanest.
Yeah, I mean, those shows were nuts because they were at bars, and the Juggalos kind of when ICP does a bar show, they take the whole thing over, and the Juggalos flood those places, and to where other people don't come in, so they just take it over, and they get real drunk and everything gets crazy. You fight for your life in some of those matches. It's weird.
So,
I've had a brick of fireworks thrown at me before.
And you said that what they would like if your match sucked, they would shut the lights off.
They used to do this thing called flashlight wrestling in the morning outside in the dark, and there was they gave all the fans got flashlights like those like those big ones like when you were a kid like you hit the button on top and it shone like those kind of flashlights, and it was up to like they would shine it when you got in the ring because there was like wrestling legends but they're like old men now, and if they got bored they would just turn them off, and that wasn't the point of it. But ICP gave them all of those flashlights saying, hold it on the ring so it looks really good in the video. So in the beginning of the first match, they were like, fuck, this match sucks. And they just turned it off and they all started bullshitting and smoking weed. And then they realized that's funnier. So then the next match would start and they'd be like, go ahead, motherfuckers, entertain us. And then they'd be like, this isn't fun anymore. And then what's great about it, you would see like the ring would be lit up and then like one thing would go out and like another section would go out. And then boom, 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 boom. And it was just dark. And just, all you just hear is the action in the ring, but you wouldn't see shit.
Yeah. That's I was wanted to do I knew a friend who, beside that wasn't you, that had a knew Ian and would I was going to try to get on a Juggalo show, and I was like, yeah, I think what I would do is I would use a lot of their lyrics against them, like from the What Is a Juggalo song. And it'd be like, you guys out here have never put a 2-liter in your butt cheeks and walked down the streets weekend at freaks. You ain't juggalos and shit. And then I'm like, probably everybody's tried to get cheap heat that way.
Every single person that comes in, they do that, and then they say Eminem a lot. Like the minute you say Eminem, they just turn their backs. They're like,
that's what I was thinking. I was like, I was gonna do it, and then I was like, nah, that's probably just overused, and I'd probably get stabbed because that's always a worry at JCW shows is. The crowd could seriously do some damage to you if they want to.
The easiest way is they're all ego driven. So you just walk up to each individual person and call them any bad words that you want to call him to his face, and then he gets mad, and then you knock one of their buddies' drinks out of their hand, and it's on.
And
It's fucking on.
It's just a
on.
straight up fist fight.
It's on. The minute you knock their hand out, they get nuts. And what's cool about ICB, they have a ton of security. So the minute they come at you, you just step back, and all the security just mobs them.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to work out some stuff for WrestleMania weekend at Vito's Gatlinburg edition.
I told you we'll have a 6-man tag. I haven't wrestled now.
Yeah.
I wrestled in August of 2019, and before that was 2013. So I'm down to do a 6-man tag.
Yeah. I'm looking at it like Vinny came up and brought his bass with him and played music with me on one of my shows, and it was like, for a lot of people that's a huge deal. That Funkmaster V, who hasn't played bass in years, and was famous in the music industry, is up here playing bass, but nobody cared because nobody there knew who he was. But I think if you do something with Hack at TPW, and we just, we throw you some fucking butt nuts and have you beat them up for a while, you and Sal and Brandon, Paulie.
If you gave us like 3 like flippy guys, not even flippy, but guys that are just willing to like move and let us position them, then we'll have that place hopping. That's our money match. That's so easy for us to do.
And I have a feeling they get a really good crowd, and it's a smart, active, fun crowd that gets into it. And I have a feeling a lot of them are going to know and be like, holy shit, this is actually a special moment.
Hey, even if it's not, we'll cut a promo on them and get them turned in. That's I haven't done that in so long, and I miss that. So yeah, I'm down to do something that weekend. 100%.
Well, what's great about his shows is like half the crowd is very heel happy. Like they love the heels, and the other half loves the baby faces. But they war against it's a great show, and I think you'd have fun in it, just to make that probably the last thing you and Sal and Brandon do together. Paulie do together.
I mean, unless we just make it like a weekend at Vito's gimmick every year in April, we just have that match wherever the fuck we have it at. We just go to that indie.
Well, you wanted to get some of these weekend at Vito's in places like Utah, where there's like out in the middle of nowhere,
South Dakota, or Cheyenne, Wyoming. Fuck yeah.
Just you go to Truth or Consequences, New Mexico,
Boise, Idaho. Yeah, hell yeah. Because when you go there, you would have stories. People are like, where'd you guys go on vacation? Boise, Idaho. They'd be like, what? Yeah. But you realize it doesn't matter where you go. It matters who's there. It doesn't matter where you're at, right? Like, we're having fun here, right? Now imagine we're on a beach somewhere. It'd be like a great vacation, right?
Oh, shit, man.
Or if we were in a cabin in Michigan, it doesn't change the environment. Or it doesn't change the people. It changes the environment. But the fun is still to be had.
A Waffle House south of Nashville. It's just...
Smothered, covered, and topped, man. Let's go.
Yeah. And there's a lot of the Waffle Houses here still have the toilets with the lids on them. And if we brought Paulie to anywhere that has a toilet with a lid on it, it's getting an upper decker.
Upper decker.
It's because when Paulie comes out, the shit bandits unite. But I want to. We got to end this because it's 9:00. But I just want to say, man, Vito, you're the best. And
thanks, guys.
Said from the moment I met you, I dug you, man. But you got overtaken by Sal, man. That's my guy.
It is what it is, man. He's everyone's favorite Thomaseli. I've accepted it years ago. I dropped him clean in the middle, so he's got it. It's his. I
don't know what it is, man. That dude just sits. He doesn't say much, but when he does, he talks. Yeah, it's the way he's so mellow, but
he doesn't say a lot, but he's paying attention the entire time. Trust me.
Yeah, and so that dude's the shit. That's and he's got a sister that's hot as hell, and then you point out that she looks just like him in a wig, and you're like, ah, damn it.
It's like Martin. Remember when Martin would dress like Shanae?
Yeah,
you can see it's obviously Martin. That's how Sal's sisters sometimes like in some photos. You're like, oh damn, it looks like Sal because they look so much alike.
Yeah. So we got to get out of here, guys. I appreciate everybody that joined it in. Vito, do you have you don't have like an actual fan page or anything for the Carnies set up yet, do you?
No, yeah. Twitter, there is a Carnies Twitter. It's the Carnies cartoon. I think there's one follower on it. I think Shane Douglas follows us. Other than that, there's nobody else. I'm not pushing it that way. I'm trying to push it to a buyer. I'm not looking at trying to get it on my own. I'm not doing the DIY thing at all. I'm shoving it really up high first. And then if it doesn't work that way, I'll just release it out for free. I'm not at that point. I don't care.
All right. Well, I want to promote stuff for you, but like One Gimmick
Appreciate it.
World's done. And
Yeah, no. What you could do is Vito Thomaseli on Instagram or Facebook. That's like my main stuff, you know. And then on YouTube I have the same. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'm not as social anymore, and I kind of like it. I like my personal life. I like my private time.
Yeah, you're too busy hustling in the real world, man.
Every day's a grind, man. I got a lot of fishing that's casted out. If I don't sit there and watch them, and I'm fucking around online, that fish gets away.
You're that asshole that nobody believes exists. You're like up on purpose at 5:30 in the morning to work out, and then 4 in the morning happily. Like,
I get up. My brain turns on about 4:15. I usually lay there for about 15 minutes and whatever, and then I start the day about 4:30. Yeah, I walk my dog. We do a big long walk. We'll do like 3 to 5 miles. I come back. I'll eat something, and then I'll do like 30 minutes of weights, and it's usually about 7 a.m.
Yeah,
a cup of coffee, and I don't start work till about between 9 and 10 each day. So it's perfect.
Yeah, and you're a bad motherfucker that works from the house too.
Love it.
Like this, you're like this chief operating officer of a company, and you don't even have to go to an office.
This is the thing. I sit here what you're seeing here right now. I will sit here every day from the time I come downstairs and I'm done doing my shit. So about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning till about 6:30, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, Monday through Monday, Monday through Sunday. It is what it is in my home.
And I was talking to a trucker today, and I kind of said, I didn't bring up your name or anything, but I said I have a friend that's kind of interested in buying trucks and and he goes, he will be rich. Mm-hmm. If you could get a guy that owns a truck and has the drivers right now, fucking money.
The drivers, it's the drivers. Yeah. That's the hard part. So
yeah,
that's for another podcast.
Yep. All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you later. And we're gonna end this and be cool.